In my last video, I said that I was going to discuss the seasons of my life. And I didn't quite get around to that just yet. This actually makes me very happy because the Lord has been so good to me. He has been so good to me every day of my life. Even before I was who I am, before I was saved. And, well, to properly do a history on my life, I have to go back to my grandfather, my dad's dad. His name was William Lee White, and he was born in Ohio, in the United States, North America. He had a dream to come to a paradise land called California. And he came in the 1940s, so I've been told. He was born in 25, so he must have been 20-something when he came. But anyway, he lived most of his life in Ohio, in what most people would call poverty. He lived in a small property in a mobile home with his wife and worked hard all the days of his life that I'm aware of, that in his working years. And he had my dad, and my dad's mother was a woman who was feisty and found grace in the eyes of her creator. My dad met my mom, Catherine, and they came to California, to Salinas, where my dad had previously been. I was conceived in Salinas, born in Ohio, raised in California. I was raised in the high heights of California and then in Citrus Heights. Later on in my saved life, I would go to a church in Del Paso Heights, and finally I would end back up in Citrus Heights. But Salinas is my hometown. It's where I was conceived. It's where I was born again on a Wednesday, in the same place I was conceived. I was born on a Wednesday also. I grew up in Citrus Heights and in California, Truckee, Northern California. There was an attack aimed against me because of the call that God had upon my soul. The enemy attacked me when I was still in the cradle. I encourage all parents everywhere not to put your child in a cradle in another room by itself in the dark. That is a cruelty that you cannot understand. I remember the nightmares and the demonic attacks against me because of my solitude as an infant. And that is a cruelty that you should never inflict upon your infant, to put them by themselves in a dark room. That is like putting a bullseye on your child for demonic attack, for the devil. And it's not good. And if you don't have to do it, I don't know why you would have to do it, but please don't. I grew up with a sense of an ancient, old, wise wisdom within me. Almost as if the Holy Spirit somehow had something planted within me even as a child. There was this austere solemnness within me even as a child, and I wanted to be taken seriously. People would just see me as a cute child, and that's fine. But as I grew, the ways of this world began to take their influence, and ideas such as abortion and other things, well, they were around. And what can a person say? as I grew older, one moment, I grew older, the specifics of righteousness came into question, and things had to be defined. I remember being 11 years old and asking my mother, about abortion and about sex. And actually, she brought it up to me. I didn't bring it up to her. That would have been too embarrassing. But somehow it got brought up. And I knew at that time that abortion was wrong. But the question was, under certain cases, would it be acceptable? Anyway, this video is not for that debate or purpose. We all know that life is sacred and should never be extinguished. That is something that even a child knows. But I grew, and through no fault of her own, I don't think, I was torn from my homeland of California and brought to Ohio. It was a very dark time. I was there longer than I wanted to be, tormented by the kids there, and I didn't know how to behave. I was just starting to get a fix on who I was becoming as a child turning into an adolescent. So my adolescent years were broken up and difficult. And, if any period of time in a human life requires stability, I would say it's during adolescent years. But notwithstanding, I would say that though it was bumpy, I survived it. I'm going to continue this video into a second part.